Okay. Raise your hand if you are one of my Hamilton fans.
I haven't watched it.
1, 2. Oh, you should watch it. Okay.
Okay, say so.
Okay. Now, if you are one of my Hamilton fans, you know the song In the Room Where It Happened, correct? Okay, somebody tell me about what that song means. What are they talking about?
It's Aaron Burr.
What you got? Shh. Huh? Say it louder for me. No, they're not. They're not talking about love in that one. What you got for me, Quinn? Okay, Burr was not in the room. Burr wanted to be. Does anybody know the 3 men who were in the room? Alexander Hamilton. Nope, wasn't John Adams. Thomas Jefferson. Nope.
No, it was, what's his name?
James Madison.
Yeah.
James Madison all went into that room. Okay, we already know that Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton do not like each other. Okay? We have already established that. There's a little green box on page 12 called the dinner table bargain. Okay? In 1790, the United States faced 2 specific decisions. Where will they build the Capitol? And what to do about the country's remaining debts from the American Revolution. Remember, Alexander Hamilton wanted them to go away for the states. Shh. Again, that's a you. Do you want to take a walk to ISS? Okay. There are remaining debts. Southern leaders, James Madison argues that the United States capital should be closer to the southern states. So if we take a look at our map over there, all right, pretty much the country just included the East Coast. Florida wasn't included, but Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, guys, West Virginia was a part of Virginia up until the Civil War. So Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, okay? All of those states are the original part of our country. James Madison thinks the capital should be closer to the southern states. But Alexander Hamilton thought that it should be in the north because the north is bigger cities, there's more population versus the farms. Legend states that the matter was settled over dinner with Thomas Jefferson. They went into the room where it happened. Nobody has any idea what was said inside this room. All they know is that when they came out, Hamilton had agreed to the capital along the banks of the Potomac River. It's the river that separates Maryland and Virginia. If the plan was to take over the state's war debt. So the South got the capital. The capital, the federal government takes over the debt of the state. So Alexander Hamilton wins. And the South gets the capital. Let's talk about that capital. Has anybody ever been there? Anybody ever been to DC? To Washington, D.C. No? Junior, come over here, please. Sit at this table. Okay, your section is called the New Capitol. There's a couple questions behind me that will make good notes, as well as things that you guys will be talking about at the end of the section. your section for this is just writing 3 notes and answering it. All right? It's just a standard section. So be looking out for the who, what, where, when, and why. Who did what, who talked about what, who built what. So Congress is going to pass a number of laws during its first session, the impact of which we can still witness today. You can buy 4 for $1, or you can come up here to this Lost and Found where there's a bunch of random pencils and use that. So come get one so that you have one. And then what? Come up here and get a pencil. And what are you going to do for the rest of the day? What are you going to do for the rest of the day? Follow him around and just borrow pencils? Or come up here and get one? Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say before I start this lesson today? Any other interruptions? Thank you. One of these laws was the Resident Act of 1790. This law designated Washington, D.C. as the national's capital, a new city where the federal government would be headquartered. So that is the first law. Boom. We have a capital. President Washington chose as the location land that was situated along the banks of the Potomac and the Anacostia River. The states of Maryland and Virginia both gave land from their territories for the creation of this city. Plans to begin construction of the new city, named after the country's first president, started shortly after Congress passed the law creating it. And the new city was to be its own distinct district. It would not be a part of any state. This is why Washington is located within the District of Columbia, better known as D.C. So the people that live there don't have a state to put on their address. Okay, the city they live in is Washington. The state that they live in is technically D.C. You can see the picture on page 13 for the city of Washington as laid out in 1792 by Pierre Charles L'Enfant, who's a French-born American architect and urban planner. So you notice how we've got a lot of up and down lines, okay, to make blocks. And then we have a lot of like rotaries or we'll have monuments or buildings centered in areas with streets going out. So he selects Andrew Ellicott. He's a surveyor, and surveyors go down. They start looking at boundaries of land, where things can be put at. You might see them on the sides of the road sometimes. They normally have like what looks like a camera on a tripod, and they're looking through it like it's binoculars. So they're surveying the land. A French-American architect, Pierre Charles L'Enfant, was hired to design a map of how the new city streets would be arranged. And he was inspired by Paris, France. Another important hire was Benjamin Banneker. Okay, why is Benjamin Banneker so important? And it is because he was a free African-American man. He had never been enslaved before. And he showed a strong interest in math, science, and engineering. This is a big deal. It's a big deal when we look back at it right now. There was actually a lot of free African Americans during the American Revolution and up until the Civil War. Now, Benjamin Banneker had never gone to school, but he was certainly very bright. L'Enfant thought, wow, you know what? This kid is smart. I'm going to take him under my wing. And at age 22, Banneker created one of the first clocks in America. Later, using his knowledge of astronomy, he accurately predicted lunar and solar events, including the 1789 solar eclipse. So remember, no school, but basically a genius that you guys have probably never, ever learned about before. Banneker's skills in mathematics caught Andrew Ellicott's attention, and he was the assistant in developing plans for the new capital in 1791. Now, L'Enfant, or Infant, as you guys probably look at it, it's L'Enfant, okay? He's fired. He's kicked out. Sayonara, okay?
What happened?
But when he left, he took all the plans with him. Took all the maps, all the plans, everything. Okay? Now, what are we going to do? We have no plans. No worries. Banneker, who also helped create the plans, he had like a photographic memory. He redrew all of the plans directly from memory. He also published his own almanac, providing useful information to people like fishers, farmers, and business people, which is kind of like the Farmer's Almanac that you can look up right now. Okay, but he was one of the first ones to create it. So it's actually pretty amazing to know that when it came down to building our city, even though they had a French white guy originally come up with it, when he left, here we have a very influential, genius, smart African-American man helped put this all together, who was also super into astronomy and into math, and probably one of the smartest men to ever live here in the United States. So that is actually pretty cool. Yes.
Why was L'Enfant fired?
I don't know that answer.
You don't?
No, I don't know that answer.
But you already knew.
Well, I don't know why L'Enfant was fired.
I mean,
I don't know everything.
I mean,
But can I be honest with you? Sometimes there's things in history. I don't care.
okay.
Just sometimes I just believe it. I won't research it anymore. Okay. Now, if you want to ask some serious questions about the Civil War, I got you, bro. Okay. When we get there, woo, I might know it all. Maybe. All right. What you got? Huh? Okay, let's look at our questions. Okay, tell somebody at your table which states actually gave the land that Congress accepted for the site of the new capital.
Washington.
Let's see. Okay, which states gave the land? Tell somebody at your table.
That would be Washington.
Do what? I just set it next to you. Just don't open it. I'm not going to get picky with you. Just put it under your book or something. I appreciate the honesty, though. Thank you. Okay. Who is it that chose the exact piece of land where the capital was to be located? Who did? Don't tell me. Tell someone at your table. Which person chose that piece of land? This one's right at the beginning. This one might be tough. Right at the beginning of the section. And then, why is Benjamin Banneker, his involvement in the building of the new capital, so significant? Okay, y'all talk with each other. Why is Benjamin Banneker so important? Serena, will you swipe for me? All right. So your guiding question for this section, how did the compromise? The compromise is the dinner, the room where it happened. How did that dinner and that conversation, even though we don't know what happened, how does it help decide the location of the nation's capital? How do we start by answering this? Okay, which means We do this every day. How do you start the answer?
Compromise without compromise. What?
Compromise helps with guide the information that provides.
Okay. And then you will tell me. Okay. Who was compromising? What was the compromise? Why is that important? All right. The last section is called Washington's Farewell. Will you swipe for me one more time? What do we think this section is going to be about? Huh? He's going to stop being president, which is devastating for people. Devastating. Washington, they expected Washington to honestly be president until he died. So when he stepped down, people were very, very worried. Okay? Yes. 8. He served 2 terms. Okay? 2 terms as president. George Washington was elected for his second term in 1792. However, he chose to not serve beyond that 8 years. At this time, the Constitution never said anything about how long you could serve. He chose 2 years or 2 terms. Washington believed that no one person should have too much power. So Washington served 2 terms. Do you guys know that no president up on our wall, up until this guy, right here, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 1933, he is elected. Do you know no president before him ever served more than 2 terms? It wasn't because it was law.
President before him.
Okay. Every president that started at George Washington up to FDR, nobody served more than 2 terms. Because George Washington set the precedent, set the example that, okay, 2 terms and I'm good. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected president for 4 terms. 4 terms. He died in the middle of 4. We then get the 22nd Amendment after they realized, wow, this could have been bad. He really probably shouldn't have been president for that long. It wasn't until he died and we get the 22nd Amendment in the 1940s that they decide the president can only run for 2 terms. Okay? This is a very new rule in our law. Okay? It's not even 100 years old. Washington's second term was ending, and he became concerned about the growing divisions in politics. In a speech called Washington's Farewell Address, he has a couple warnings for everybody. Okay? And we're going to talk about these 2 warnings because these warnings hold very true still today. This is why history is important. The first warning he makes is the dangers of political parties. He says, if you allow political parties to fester and grow, it will divide this country. How do you guys feel about that? Let me ask you a question, because you guys are smart enough. Okay, what are the 2 political parties today? Republicans and Democrats. Okay. So right now we're all in a classroom. Okay. You guys could probably think in your head, oh, I would consider myself either a Republican or a Democrat. You might already have an opinion on that. Okay. So I want you guys to think about something. If you, whatever you decide your political party is, if you walked into this room, stop clicking, and everybody else in this room was the opposite of your political party, would you start making some judgments?
Yes, absolutely.
George Washington said, don't do that. He said political parties will destroy us. And guys, guess what? It does. And it did. We have a civil war that is divided by two political parties. Okay? You pick one side or the other. And I just said, guess what? If you walked in here and you had a political party and everybody else was the opposite, would you be mad? Would you be worried? Yes, you would. Guess what? His warning was right. His warning 240 years ago, he said, if we focus on political parties, this is bad. It will destroy us. And right now in 7th grade, you can agree that political parties are a problem. He encouraged people to focus on what they had in common instead. He emphasized that most of the time they're going to share the same religion. They're going to the same manners, the same habits, and the same political principles. Washington reminded the American people that they fought together for their independence and freedom through joint efforts and cooperation. And he urged them to prioritize unity rather than allow differences to separate them. And as you will read, Washington's wish was not easily granted. This is one of the most important speeches and the most important piece of advice that has ever been given by a president in any way, shape, or form. And even though we loved George Washington, some people will consider him the greatest president we've ever had because he was the first, because he had the most adversity, because he had to come up with the most things. And here his final wish to us is don't have political parties, and now we define each other by them. So if there's anything that you guys can do as you move forward as students and into adults, is to not judge people based on whatever in the world their political party is. Now, there's another thing that he told us. Put our hands down, please, and I will answer them at the end. There is another part in that speech that he gives us, and he talks with us about what we should do about foreign enemies. Okay? Foreign enemies, people outside of us. Any kind of wars we're going to get into. There's a little green box at the top of page 15. It says, at the beginning of Washington's second term in office, France goes to war again with Great Britain. Just in case you guys are wondering, France and Great Britain have been fighting each other since like 1200, okay? It's like a new war happens every single year, all right? President Washington sees this and is like, oh, again? Okay. France is a huge friend of ours because they helped us beat the British in the American Revolution. France is coming to us and asks for help. But he knows that if we help France, then our relationship that we're just fixing right now with Great Britain is going to take a tumble. So Washington steered a course of neutrality, meaning that we did not pick a side and we did not help either side. He and Alexander Hamilton put forward the Jay Treaty, which normalized trade for with Britain. And this is actually pretty important because whether or not this should have been the right thing, we'll see later on in about 12 years after it happens. The British give up their forts near the Great Lakes. Does anybody know where the Great Lakes are? No. Woo! Right around Michigan are the Great Lakes. Okay, you can remember them with the word homes. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. Those are the 5 Great Lakes of the United States that are surrounded by the Mitten of Michigan. So the British give up their forts near the Great Lakes. But again, not everyone agrees with Washington. Okay, Washington's very big on that. Do not get involved in foreign wars. What that basically means is, not my monkey, not my circus. If France and Britain are fighting, what does that have to do with us? Absolutely nothing. If Japan and China are fighting, what does that have to do with us? Absolutely nothing. If Canada and Mexico are fighting, what does that have to do with us? Now, wait a minute. That might have something to do with us. Canada's on top of us and Mexico's below us. We might want to pay attention to that one, okay? Because it's close. But the point is that if you look at a globe on our side of the world, there's Canada, United States, and Mexico. And then we have South America, which has a lot of countries moving into, or Central America moving into South America. There's not a lot of angriness going on our side of the world. Not a lot of fighting going on. We just stay to ourselves. This is our hemisphere. He says don't get involved. All right? Now, I have, for your interest, I have a book. If you ever want to read some of the speeches and you don't want to Google them. Oh, that was very old. Guys, can you believe this is actually older than me, even though my birth certificate looks very similar?
Yeah, I can believe that.
Okay.
How old is that?
Like, at least
This was published in 1840.
So how do you have it?
Because I go antiquing, bro.
Oh.
I'm a weirdo. We go to flea markets. We find things.
old
They like
people's
garage sales. They throw away their children collectors things.
I'm
after
telling
they
you.
Go to college.
I know. Okay.
Go to
So I got this
garage
book.
sales,
It's
they
published in
throw away
1840.
their children college.
This has every speech that's ever been given up until a president at that time. Now, it is very important that if you do, you can schedule an appointment or come in at a lunch sometime, and I will allow you to look at it. I'm not going to pass it around, okay? But you are allowed to take a look at it. My cover is actually, it might actually be fully off at this point, so it is very important. But inside of this book are some of the greatest speeches that were ever written by some of our founding father presidents and the beginning presidents. Okay, George Washington's speeches are in here. Okay, it's called the Book of Executive Messages. Okay, yes.
This stuff ain't mine, but it's on his phone.
Let's just leave it there. Yes.
If you'll let me, and if the cover's fully on down, can I put let me the other cover on the book? If you'll let me do that.
No. That's a hard
If it's fully off.
No, we're gonna let it live in its existence at this point.
It's got like 3 seconds.
But
3 milliseconds
well,
with someone.
we will have a conversation about that. How about that? But you can see
You'll let me.
Oh.
what the pages look like. So this is John Adams.
You have to be very delicate.
So you do have to be very delicate. Okay, but you can now. Granted, can you guys view all of these online?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. All right, but I do have it. If it is ever something that you guys want to look at, we can definitely do that. All right. So take a look at our questions here on Washington's farewell, and tell somebody at your table, what message did Washington send in his farewell address? Okay, tell someone at your table. Give me I love it. Like, even though I can.
Right, but it's not, that's not nostalgia.
No, it's almost 200 years old.
Right, right.
All right. What policy towards Great Britain did Washington follow? What is that policy? Did he give help? Did he not give help? What policy did he follow? Tell somebody at your table. You are going to have to show me how you have experienced doing this. I can't just tell you yes.
I know. I know.
But if you show me that you have experience, I might consider you letting you help do something.
Or like I would have used it, but it wasn't like a hand.
Oh, well,
We gotta practice a lot.
I don't know, man.
Do it.
I-
Don't let it go wet. If it only if it falls off, you can't find anyone else.
Okay, all right, we can consider that. Serena, can you swipe me, please?
Another plus I want person absorbent. Oh,
Oh, I appreciate that.
Restoration people. $7,000 in your kidney.
Right, right. Okay. And this is kind of the same as the question you guys just talked about, but your guiding question, I feel, is pretty simple. What advice did Washington give the nation in his farewell address? All right. Don't tell me. Write it in your guiding question. All right. What time does this class get out? 9:31. Cool. Yes. Yes.
What time is it?
All right. So let's talk about primary sources. Now, our primary sources, this is all new. It is all new for those of you who remember last year, the way we did them, way different than we did last year. We are going to talk a little bit more about pieces of the source instead of writing giant paragraphs. Okay? And I know you guys got to be happy about not writing giant paragraphs. All right.
Last year, we had to do so much work in our journal. It's like we had to make the covers and everything.
I know. See, I really do feel like I've done better. Okay. Although some of my new seventh graders, they don't know the struggle. Okay? They don't know the struggle. All right, we have two primary sources we're gonna read. Ew. No, that's not right. So primary source number one is actually two different letters put in together. It's actually letters from Thomas Jefferson and then letters from Alexander Hamilton. And then our second source is George Washington's farewell address. That's actually the one we're going to talk about today. We're going to skip over the first one. We're still going to do it. We're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to talk about George Washington's farewell address. So go ahead and open this to your second source, the second one.
Where?
Keep going. Right there. You're going to do the second one. Okay, let's do it together. Yes, the second one. Because we'll go back tomorrow and do Alexander Hamilton's. Dwayne, let's get to the right page, my friend. Okay, so first, let's find the source title. What is the source title? Look in your book on page 17. You're going to need your book open.
Farewell address. George Washington's farewell.
George Washington's farewell address. That is the title. Your next question is, what is the type of source? Is it a letter, a speech, a court case, an image, or something other than that? What do we think? What is an address? Yes. We're on page 17. We're on page 17. On George Washington's farewell address. What is an address? No. Huh? A speech. It is a speech. Okay. The first thing that you guys are going to look for is a sentence within this speech that resonates with you. And then you're going to translate it into your own words. So first of all, I'm going to read this speech to you. Beginning in September of 1796, George Washington's farewell address appeared in newspapers around the country. Washington had stepped down from the presidency after serving 2 terms. In the address, he expressed his thoughts, advice, and warnings concerning governance and the nation's future. And he states, "The unity of government, which constitutes you, one people, is also now dear to you. It is justly so. For it is a main pillar in the edifice of your real independence, the support of your tranquility at home, your peace abroad, of your safety, of your prosperity, of that very liberty which you so highly prize. But as it is easy to foresee that from different causes and from different quarters, much pain will be taken. Many artifices employed to weaken in your minds the conviction of this truth. As this is the point in your political fortress against which the batteries of internal and external enemies will be most certainly and actively, though often covertly and insidiously directed, it is of that infinite moment that you should properly estimate the immense value of your national union to your collective and individual happiness, that you should share a cordial, habitual, and immovable attachment to it, accustoming yourselves to think and speak of it as the palladium of your political safety and prosperity, watching for its preservation with jealous anxiety, discountenancing whatever may suggest even a suspicion that it can be in any event abandoned, and indignantly frowning upon the first downing of every attempt to alienate any portion of our country from the rest, or to enfeeble the sacred ties which now link together the various parts." Just hits you in the heart. Now raise your hand if you understood that.
Oh, Charles, stop put your hand down, bro. You did not understand that.
It's not easy to understand that, guys.
I'm too special
Okay.
to figure that out.
Totally okay if you didn't understand that. All right. So I'm going to talk with you about it. Shh. Stop. The first sentence says this: the joining of our government now means, the forming of this government now means that you are not just a random people, you are one people. We are Americans. That's what that means. He says, putting this together, you are Americans. Okay? And it's important for your independence. It's important for your building of pride in our country, that we must support your tranquility at home, your peace at home, your confidence at home, how confident you are at being an American. Okay? But we also have to make sure that you also have peace abroad. Our government has to make sure that if you go overseas, that people don't look at you and get mad because you're an American. Your safety is important. Alex. Your safety is important. You being able to succeed is important. And your freedom is a prize that should be important. He says, but as easy as it for you to see that all of this is important, it's not easy. He says, many pains will be taken. For us to get where we need to go, it's not going to be an easy road. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be hardships. This is Bethel. Okay. There are going to be people that are going to try to trick you. They're going to try to change your opinion on what's important. There's going to be people that are going to lie to you, that are going to try to manipulate you to what is the truth. But this is where you have to be strong against internal and external enemies. That means even American enemies and foreign enemies when he says internal and external. They're going to be constantly active. They're going to be coming at you all the time. But you need to understand that the most important thing that you can do is be loyal and be an American. That's it. That's the most important part. It is important that you understand your individual happiness is important as well as everybody around you. We need everybody to be happy. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but you need to work together. You need to be able to you need to get used to defending and protecting your safety and your prosperity. You need to kind of be a little nervous and be ready to protect it. Okay, understand that the attacks are coming. If you don't think the attacks are coming, then you don't know that you could be easily manipulated. You need to dismiss and discount. You need to dismiss anybody that even attempts to make you stray from being an American. And don't alienate any portion of the country. I'm guilty of that. Alienating a part of the country. Somebody will be like, oh, I'm from California. And I'm like, eh. I've done it. When it's sporting season, okay, LSU fan, somebody says, I'm from Alabama. Eh. Okay. But the reason he says that is because, yes, we might be from different states. And we might have some pieces of us that go, eh. But he wants us to make sure that if somebody attacks another state or another region, that we are ready to uphold the fact that it's not just that we're from Louisiana or California or Montana or Ohio or Maine. We are Americans. And no matter what, that is the most important. Does the speech make a little bit more sense now that I've put it in that direction? Okay, so George Washington is basically in this part saying, you are American. It's not easy. It's going to be hard. Take pride in it because we all want to be prosperous here. Okay, that's the main part of it. So I want you guys to find a sentence in this source, an original sentence. So you guys are going to write that sentence in its original words. But a sentence that you understand and you can rewrite and translate it in a way of today's words. Does that make sense? So kind of like what I just did, I read it and then I translated it into something easier to understand. Okay? Yes. What? Okay, well, throw the box away. There's some right there. Yes. I need a potty pass. Yes, you did. You were here. I gave them all out. You had to have a potty pass. And I checked on that day you were here. Class is going to be over in like 8 minutes. So, yes. No, oh, no. You just need to pick a sentence. Just pick a sentence. Okay. Context means what was happening at the time this is written. So we know it's George Washington's farewell address. What is going on in our country when he writes this? Does anybody have any ideas? Think about all we just learned. What's happening when this speech comes out? Huh?
Stepping down.
He's stepping down. Good job. This one's pretty easy. What is happening? Well, George Washington's leaving the presidency, which is a little scary for some people. What was going on between Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson? They're arguing. We have two political parties, right? Do you think this speech also kind of encourages people to not be a part of that political party? To try to be united as Americans? Okay, so that's what's happening. George Washington is leaving, and two of the biggest other names are fighting with each other. They're separating the country. Okay, who wrote this source? George Washington. So we're talking about our credibility. Who wrote it? George Washington. Do you think we can trust him? He seems like a pretty trustworthy guy. I think we can trust George Washington. Okay, credibility. Credibility is basically, does this person have enough weight? Do we believe them? Okay, really, do we trust them? That is credibility. Okay, what's your credibility? Can your friends and family trust you in the things that you say?
Yes.
Okay, do you lie all the time? So if you do, you have no credibility. Nobody trusts you. Okay, so in our book, we've read a lot about different people. And you have this box called corroboration, which is almost like cooperation. It says, have you learned about anyone that feels the same? Is there anybody that we've learned about in this book that agrees with George Washington and his ideas? Especially the one in this speech. Can anybody think of anybody that we've talked about that believes the same thing? What you think? I will tell you that there's really no right or wrong answers here in this. If you think Thomas Jefferson believed the same thing, tell me why you believe it. If you believe Alexander Hamilton wanted the same thing, tell me why. If you know a guy in history that I don't know about, but you know he believed the same thing as George Washington and you can prove it, write it down. Okay, cause and effect. What caused this source to be written? What? Washington stepping down. Very good. Okay, Washington's deciding to leave. He's not going to be president anymore. Now, for close reading, it says what words or phrases stand out. You're going to go through the source and you're going to find words that maybe seem like, okay, hey, these are important. And then your extended response is the same extended response on every single primary source this time. Using all of this information that you're writing down. I want you to tell me, what does this information tell us about life, people, the government at this time? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Does it tell us what the people are feeling? Does it tell us what the government is feeling? Okay? If you write a good 2-sentence answer here, and I know that you're trying and you're using the information, you are going to get full credit here. Okay? But it does have to make sense. Okay? You can't just write the government's a mess. Okay? Or people were sad. Okay? I want you guys to look at the source and tell me, what does this tell me about the people or the life or government? This question is going to work for every single source that we read throughout it. And you're going to be able to use context clues in it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the primary source? Okay. We will do the other one tomorrow. And then the rest of it will be time for you guys to catch up. We also have our chapter reflection Guys, the chapter reflection you guys always do on your own. That's an on you time. Okay? There's a lot of you that I'm looking out and I'm seeing blank pages in this journal. It is due Friday at the end of class. All right? Remember, you can always go back on YouTube and take a look at the lessons if you need help with a section.